Okay, good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the local Board of Appeals and Equalization meeting, Friday, April 18th, 2025 at 1:00 p.m. The local Board of Appeals and Equalization meeting is held to provide a fair and objective forum for property owners to appeal their property values or classifications. It is important to note that this meeting is held to discuss the 2025 assessment values and classifications only. No property tax or previous year's valuations can be considered at this meeting. Decisions will be adopted by a formal vote of the council. Options available to the board for this vote include no change, lower the value, for which case the city value cannot be reduced more than 1% of the city's total valuation, raise the value, change the classification, or have the assessor inspect the property and report to the local board within 20 days. Appellants with appointment set ahead of time will be heard first today, and then it will be a first come, first served as you signed up today on the sign-in sheet. When your name is called, if you can please come to either the podium there or the desk there and speak clearly into the microphone. Just make sure the microphone is turned on. There's just a little button here, so make sure that that's green. And state your name and address for the record. And then you will have around 5 minutes to explain your situation. County staff will then provide additional information to the board present today, and then the board will make a decision. Are there any questions before we get started? Okay, seeing none, we'll turn this over to county staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things of what happened with your city before you take your first appeal. The city of Nisswa had 31 improved residential seasonal properties that sold in our time sales ratio studies time period. After we made all these adjustments, like Gull Lake went up $1,900 a foot, Lower Cullen up like $1,100 a foot. Some really big increases to some areas of the city. Our median sale ratio is 97.2%. And what that means is for every sale that occurs, we take our assessed value and we compare it to what somebody paid for the property. So you get that and you get this ratio. And by state statute, we are mandated to be between 90 and 105% on that median sale ratio. And after all these adjustments that we'll be talking about today, we're at 97%. So what that tells us, some statistical people like us from the county, is that the vast majority of properties in the city of Nisswa are not overassessed. We're probably on the conservative side of what somebody could have sold their property for as of January 2nd. I know not a lot of people like to hear somebody like me say that, but that is what the data is supporting. The other thing to note real quick is just a breakdown of your city, how it's comprised from a value standpoint. So the sheet in front of you with the pie chart just kind of represents that you'll see that the overall about 52% of this city is residential, 38, almost 39% is seasonal property, and about 8% or almost 9% commercial, and just a little bit of rural vacant land or managed forest in the city. So overall, the city went up about 13% in market value and ended up at 1.4 billion in estimated market value. Any questions from the council before you take your first appeal? I'm sure we'd do that. Otherwise, we do have one appointment that'll start.
Is it for us to ask a question or just for you guys? I didn't know.
I think it's probably, they haven't been too strict in the past. It's probably okay to just ask questions, I'm assuming.
You can ask a question. Yeah, you can ask a question. If you can just state your name.
Kim Klukas, and I was just wondering, you mentioned Gull Lake and Lower Cullen Lake. Are those the only two lakes that had the increases, or are those just two examples?
Those are just two examples.
Oh, okay.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 different lakes that had increases this year in the city of Nisswa.
And 12 lakes out of how many?
13.
Oh, so one lake didn't. Okay.
Yep.
Which lake?
That was Bass over on Nashua. Did not see an increase. Increase on Clark Lake was $300 a foot. So they're sitting at $3,700 a foot. So if you have a 100-footer, that's 370,000 in land value before we look at any improvement value.
You said 370?
3,700.
Oh, 3,700.
Yeah. In comparison, Gull Lake currently is at 11,000 a foot. So that's 1.1 million for a 100-foot lot on Gull.
Okay, does anyone else have questions? Otherwise, we can start.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Gary Griffin. I'm the Land Services Director. With that comes a few hats. One of the hats is County Assessor here for Crow Wing County. These three over here are Land Services staff. And again, like the mayor had said earlier, we're here to just provide any information the council needs, ask questions or answer questions from concerned citizens too. All decisions will be adopted by formal vote from the city, so it's all their decision today. We're here really just to say why or how to help explain, and then they will make their determination if it's fair, equitable, or, you know, did we miss the mark and they want to make some changes.
If the assessor comes out to your property, they typically be quite hard. I'm assuming somebody can out my property, stops.
Yes, they are, we have a policy, internal policy that they're required to leave notification they were on your property. And if that didn't happen, I sure would love to speak with you after and just kind of dig into that, because we pride ourselves on being transparent, open, you know, about, hey, what we need to do or why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, look forward, nothing got stolen, so I assume that must be somebody.
Okay. Seeing no more, we would move, the first person would be Shirley Peterson. And if it's all right, Shirley, I'll just start with, this property is on, the piece of property. You're more concerned about the little 8-foot strip, I'm assuming, on Roy Lake,
Yes, sir.
down,
And I'm really speaking for all three of us. There's 3 property owners that are involved in that.
okay. Just for a location where the property is for the council.
I'm Shirley Peterson. I live at 4272 Upper Roy Lake Road. Thankful to get a Nisswa newsletter in my mailbox recently. And our mayor made a comment on our vision for Nisswa. Our goal for Nisswa is simple: protect individual rights, reduce government overreach, keep taxes low, etc. So don't ever quit having these meetings. It's very important. You know us better and you care more about us than the county does. Okay. All right, 3 people, property owners, have those little pieces of land on Roy. We live on Edna on the other side. That's where the main property is. I was here 3 years ago in 22 in April. And at the time, you recommended and went with it from, they tried to raise it to 6,500. And we kept it at 4,500. And it stayed the same 23 and 24. For this year, I goofed. I really blew it, because whenever that statement came in the mail in the fall or sometime before December, I stuck it away so I wouldn't lose it, but I never opened it till toward the end of January. And I was shocked. Do you guys have the numbers?
No.
Or
No.
you don't? They
They're
don't.
up on
Oh,
in the
can't
council,
see.
see the screen,
Okay.
and I can read them to you.
Let's see that.
Her value last
So
year.
because I missed the December meeting, I got stuck with that number for this year, which went from 4,500 to what, sir? 36,000 something. And this year, they want to up it for the next time to 49,400. We're talking about 8 feet ashore. 8 feet. And I told everyone, some of you maybe remember when I was here in 22.
I was the only one here, I think, at that time.
There are
Okay.
more than one lot.
It's not even, I don't even put a dock out there. Not that I can't, I guess, but it's pretty crowded. I'm
So
the
this
middle
one is
property.
saying
So
this,
when they put docks on the
not
side,
this.
I've always had good neighbors and they say, feel free to use our docks. Pretty hard to squeeze another one in there. I imagine when they first got the properties settled, that was enough to pull a canoe up on shore or something. But the main property is what the value of that little piece goes with. Wanting to raise it again, I think it's so ridiculous. Like I say, when I opened that letter in January and had blown the meeting, I didn't know whether I should laugh or cry. It was so ridiculous. And the other landowners on each side of me, they agree. It's hard to believe. So yes, can you bring it back to 4,500? Maybe not. But it's a little bit ridiculous what they're recommending. And I thank the governor, the mayor again, that we're working on individual rights, reducing that government overreach and keeping taxes low. And you guys care about us more than they do.
I don't think the other two members were here in 22 when this came up. So we came to the conclusion, a couple of things. One, that the property, I mean, even combined, what is it, 24 feet wide with the three
The
pieces?
three of them.
If-
And
if-
that's another question I had, is that strip, is it like 25 feet? Does that stay 25 feet all to the road?
It
Because
looked like it
some
was
of you
pretty
know, we've got
rectangular.
that new gated area that came in the last couple of years. And I don't know if they're infringing on that 25 feet or not, but
But I think the
something-
conclusion that,
something to check on.
I'm going to interrupt, but I think the conclusion that the council members came to was the fact that, one, it wasn't buildable. Two, you really couldn't put a dock at the end of it into the lake because it
pretty crowded.
wasn't there. So that's when we said, keep it at the 4,500. I mean, that would be, my recommendation is to keep it at that.
I remember when I was here, someone from the county even said either mistakenly or they were grossly in error that one of my neighbors
Had
had
sold.
sold that little piece for like 12,000 or something back then, and that would never happen. The value of those little pieces go with the main property on the other side of the road.
Right, so I mean, I would recommend to keep it at the, what it was set before, if that can be done. That's just my recommendation.
Or if I could just help, why the value's at almost 50,000. When that happened a few years ago, we hadn't had any sales up there and it was debatable how valuable is access on Roy and how much can it contribute to the lots that are across the road that own them. Her neighbor did sell in 2022 and it sold for 695,000. So that neighboring property, even with, we're treating them all the same with the $50,000 access to Roy on the other side. We're at 515,000 today, but 2 years ago it sold for 700,000. We believe that it does have a lot more value than what the city council concluded 3 years ago, because now we have real evidence, not any hypotheticals. Can you do a dock, not do a dock? Somebody paid a lot of money, way more money than we have on the property right next door. And that is what triggered us to go, you know what, we need to relook at these three pieces because they paid a lot more than what we had valued on. Our job was to treat everybody equally, not, react to what people are buying and selling property for. That's why we did it.
But to Mark's point, could we go back to the value?
Yes.
We
you
could go
guys
back
can.
to 45, right?
Absolutely.
Because the challenge with, right, I get what you're saying, it sold for this and the assessed value, but what you're doing is we're taxing people out of living here. And a lot of people, and I'll include my parents who are in Crow Wing on Round Lake off of Ojibwa, that worked their entire lives to build this home to retire in. And they're now on Social Security, almost 80, and they're getting taxed out of it. And we don't want this community, especially in Nisswa, to become one where no one can afford to live here.
Sure.
And so I hear what you're saying, but in general, I just inherently feel the government is always trying to reach in and take from people. And if we can make a motion to allow them to go back to the 4,500, I am all in favor of making that motion and I would support that. For you.
My property's been in our family since at least back in the sixties. And one neighbor might have been even longer than that.
If I can, just, and by all means, it's all your power today. If you reduce hers by 45,000, it helps her taxes. Now, everybody in this audience, including the folks up here, you just increased your own, because taxes aren't gonna go down because of this. Somebody else is gonna pay. Taxes were decided on how much spending the city, the county, and the school need, not the value. So the value should be, and treat everybody fairly, because we valued everybody here on what we believe they can sell their property for. So to reduce something based off of, well, we don't want that tax to go up, you just shifted tax to somebody else. You didn't lower it, you shifted it.
Why
That's
did
what
the
you're doing.
value on my main property go down and the little one go up?
Because we believe the 4,500 was extremely too low for what it actually is bringing with a sale that just occurred.
But I think what she asked was,
But
is why did her main property across the road from there go down?
Mhm.
In valuation.
Um,
That doesn't make sense
I
because
guess,
it's that little piece that makes it more valuable.
me personally, I'm willing to spread the few $1,000s that would, to spread it across the city straight away. I agree with the mayor that, yeah, we're trying to, I saw this happen, sixties and seventies, where people that had been here for a long time, generational, that they got taxed out of their property. And I don't want to see that happen. And it's starting to happen again. I understand, how you guys do things, but this little strip of land, these little 3 pieces strip of land, I think we could not increase it, and if I've got to pay a little bit more on my property taxes, I'm fine with that.
But are you saying if we lower hers, that everybody's gonna get a new property tax bill and their taxes are all gonna go up?
No, what I'm saying is when we calculate taxes next year, because you were gonna.
Oh, next year.
Next,
Yeah,
This
for
is all for
26.
next
Yeah,
year.
yeah, okay.
Yep, yep.
it gets distributed.
Right. Well, maybe
Yep.
you guys should cut taxes and, Yeah.
We have no control on taxes. We're just.
but we
value-
do in Nisswa, so we can
Yeah,
take our approach
absolutely.
here.
Well, I guess I got a question for this and maybe this is a bigger topic than this. Little scenarios, little strips, pieces of land like this that are non-conforming, and this may be, something for you to think about too. Particular on Roy Lake, there's not great access for snowmobile, wintertime, stuff like that, for the property owners and tax value and stuff. I wonder if discussions could happen between the landowners and the county or something, and do, give it to the county, give it to the DNR for a public access point, snowmobiles. It
It's
relieves,
not an access.
well, it would relieve any of these future tax burdens on your end. As far as it goes, all of that stuff is very non-conforming. As far as any of the rules go, like we say for docks, for buildings and stuff like that. And it would clean up these sort of hassles, plus maybe give, access to that lake. I say that because, then it really does kind of put the burden on the homeowner where it's like, oh, no, are we gonna give that up? Do we wanna sell it, Then we really.
Nobody would sell those, honey.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if people are saying, no, I don't wanna sell them, then they do have value. So
And we don't want access because we don't want to be responsible for someone getting hurt on our.
I'm
property.
saying that you would no longer own that. You would,
Oh, no, forget that. That's what makes the other property valuable,
ding, 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 right there. That's the thing then it's gotta have some value. So we can't say it has no value
Oh, no.
Right.
and then make that comment and say
No,
that
it's
it does
some.
because of the access point. So I agree, we don't want the taxes to go up, but having access, that allows somebody from, a non, from not being on the Gull Lake chain to being on there to have access. So, I agree. I think the price is a little bit high, but there's definitely value there,
Sure.
you know, and
Sure,
you
but
just
not
confirm that.
separate, not separate from the other property.
Oh, per
Yeah.
square.
It
And so
doesn't
if-
really have that value
4,500.
on its own because that makes it look like, oh, you could sell it for
But they
that.
paid
No,
for it.
nobody would sell it.
Yeah, but the
And then they jumped to 36.
accessibility is where the value is at. It's,
Yeah.
it's not by itself. You know, so it, you
Well,
know,
I
if,
could see where
yeah.
the main property would maybe go up a little bit then, but it didn't. They went down,
yeah,
you know? It's ridiculous on that little piece. It just, it doesn't make sense.
I
You'll
agree
do
the
what you
value
gotta
is
do.
high.
It's too high.
I agree that it's high, but it does bring a value because of the accessibility, especially for there. And if I'm not mistaken, on one of those lots, there are docks and stuff put in there now. Is that correct? I know right where that piece is. I believe one of your neighbors do
And
have
I'm
docks out
looking
there.
again, is that the 25 feet? It's 25 all the way to the road?
That's what we're showing on the map,
It's the
yes.
same width. So I think somebody might want to check our wonderful new gated neighbor there too and see what they're doing.
So in so the 2024 value, it went up to 36.5.
Correct.
No,
No,
no, it stayed the same in 23 and 24 at 4,500. And then for this year, it jumped because I
So-
missed the December meeting.
The 2024 assessment for taxes payable in 2025 was $36,500. It went from that to the 49.4 for the 25 assessment taxes payable in 2026.
The change came with proposed taxes for this year.
it's,
And
I
it
agree
shows
that
right
it's
here.
too high.
it's too high.
It's too high,
2024
but it
is
still does have
4,500.
great value
Yeah, I
because
agree.
it gives you access.
I know, but
To
you
the
can't,
whole Gull
you
Lake
can't
chain.
jump someone from 4,500 to 50,000 in 2
I
years. That's
agree.
ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's,
the percentage of the
Yeah.
jump is out of line.
it's way out of line.
But so let me go back to 22. What, that would have been in increments, what was the dollar amount? in
It's
22?
4,500 and 22.
No, no,
I-
no, that's where
I-
it got negotiated back. Does anybody
Right.
know what that
I
was?
think it was,
It was 45. They wanted to go to 65 and you guys kept it down for us.
It's 6,500.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You know,
not
if-
1,000.
I don't think it's, the valuation is, like you said, that's a huge jump. I'm not saying we have to go to 45, but we need to decrease it. If we can go back to the numbers of then at 6,500. I mean,
how did
Or
it
even the
affect the
60.
value that sold with the other piece identical to this? What were those number?
Yep, so the piece that sold right next door to her for 695,000. That also has 49 for assessed. We're at 515,000 today on a $700,000 sale. And here we're talking about lowering it. So if the neighbor was here too, they would have purchased for 700 and you'd be saying, let's take 40 some thousand off of their sale price. And they just paid $200,000 more for it. That's what you would be saying to them. But everybody here is valued and they're gonna pay tax on the sales of what happened in Nisswa.
Mark, you have a
Is the
motion?
valuation the same for my neighbors?
Yeah, I mean,
That is
All-
correct.
all
I don't
three,
think
yeah.
I think the 50,000's out of line.
Yeah, the
But also,
50,000 's
but
not
also
a-
too, just keeping it always at the 4,500, you know,
there's gotta be a little
It,
bit.
it does have to go up with something that's fair and makes sense, and
Right.
4,500 to 50,000, that's too big of a jump, but it does have great value. I mean, you said it yourself, nobody would be willing to sell that or sell it, give it away, get rid of it,
No,
because it does add value to it. Well, then,
that's the plus, yeah.
right,
Even if you have to go to the 6,500 that we fought the last time, you know, that would, make sense or be acceptable in your brain. You know, but the
Wow.
jump from 4,500 to 36,000 was ridiculous.
For front foot on Roy. 8,000.
Per foot?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I would say even meet in the middle or something would be a more fair thing. I agree, jumping it from 45 to 50 is out of line, but also keeping the whole thing at $4,500. That is also not accurate either, because it does bring way more value to that property, you know. I mean, at the time of sale, somebody with access to the Gull Lake chain
mhm.
is willing to pay way more than $4,500 for that. You know, and so,
They are, but I feel like, again, it's, you can say what the value is, but if you're not selling it or you're not moving, it doesn't, a value on paper doesn't do you any good. I don't know.
Where are you thinking, Joe?
I don't know, I mean, you know, like
We just figured somebody's making money somewhere, but it's not the property owners.
No,
You
not
know,
unless you sell. And some
And-
people plan to retire where they live.
And it feels like you're penalized for,
I'm
you've
not-
lived here too long, you know?
yeah,
You guys can make a motion. I'm not in favor of anything going over 5 figures for her.
Me either.
So if you keep it under 10. Because if she's already paying the 36.5 for 25 based on 24, then we're
So-
bringing her a savings in 26 over
three of
25.
those parcels in 22 capped at 45,
Mhm.
like
Yes.
all the neighbors. there?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, because I asked them at that time, do my neighbors have to contact you? No, we'll take care of all of them.
So this will be equal for all your neighbors.
That was in 22.
Are they all currently assessed at the same 50,000 right now?
Yes,
Yes.
but there's only one change today unless they're in the audience. Or she has a paper or somebody that they have signed that they are being represented officially by them. You
Right.
guys don't have the authority to change any other ones.
We just have for her.
Correct.
And
I son-in-law.
Well, that's what we would need.
Yes.
It's gonna be in writing. If you can send it to Land Services, sure. Give them yours, Sandra, so you can get it.
Can you live with 9,500?
yeah, I mean, it, yeah,
Could you live with 9,500?
Pardon?
Could you live with 9,500 from 4,500 to 9,500? 9,500? Yeah, I agree.
yeah, we don't agree with that, but
Yeah.
also too, just keeping it at, right.
Right, yep.
Would the county be opposed to her consolidating that? Just
Well,
having one parcel for both?
well, that's what I asked, you know, with all these little slivers, it'd make way more sense to consolidate it, group
Put
it
it
up.
into one. Yeah.
But yeah, but that's where she said she didn't think anyone would be in favor of that.
I think she was, I think what I heard was maybe she thought that she would need to sell that or something. Would you be in favor of this little sliver and your house across the road would just have one statement, one notice, it's all one value? Would that make more sense moving forward?
Yes,
So what would happen is if you're in favor, they would take your property, your main property, and then the sliver that's in there, Shirley, they would add that sliver, the 8-foot wide section, to your main property across the way, so it would be under one,
Oh, so they're not two,
Right.
right, so they're
so
not two
it's
properties,
one parcel,
right.
Parcel.
Now, she would have to go down to Land Services and do that, would she not?
Yeah.
but then what
then-
if,
but then-
what
but
if
then-
someone buys it after I die and they want to sell that little piece?
Then-
And make a big buck on that? you know,
Well,
then.
Well, actually, I think, and maybe Steven, like with ordinance and stuff too, to sell off something like that, I think it does have to be consolidated because there's minimum lot widths and sizes, so it would be the best to consolidate together for zoning.
It kind of makes sense to me, but I hate to make a decision like that without family involved, you know.
what? can
You know Lila, my wife.
Yeah,
We ended up doing that also because it just
Okay,
made more
yeah.
sense. We added in actually two pieces that were separated by
you
roads.
had that
and
kind of
stuff,
a split,
and-
yeah.
And it worked out great for us.
Well, that way the little piece is always tied to it, you know.
Correct.
Correct.
But if she.
But
if she-
then what
if
do my
she's not
neighbors
comfortable
have to
making that
do?
Decision
What do-
right now on the
Right,
fly.
Right, and she does, I was just throwing that, maybe that'll help in the.
But maybe for
You
next
don't have
year.
to make that decision
Yeah.
right now.
Okay, we
I-
can, I
Give
can
your- yeah,
come to
'cause
you
need
guys
time.
with that.
If, so if you want to add that sliver to your main piece of property, you'd have to go down to, if I'm correct, because
Oh,
what we had to do, we had to go down to land services and do it. I don't know if they can wave their magic wand and say, yes, it's
yeah.
done.
What do we, can we settle anything today? I can't make a decision like that by myself.
A decision we can make today, and you can ponder that, talk to family and do it later, before the end of this year, is we could set a,
Otherwise, you'd go to the 9,500.
we could set a valuation of going to 9,500 for your sliver.
For 26.
For 26.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I have to remember to get to every
Yes.
meeting and open my envelopes.
Yes.
I think that's the best way to leave it for now.
Okay.
I
Okay.
do.
So do you want to make a motion?
The rest is too complicated for my old Norwegian brain.
So yeah, I'll make a motion to lower the valuation of your sliver there to 9,500.
That's doable.
I'll second that.
Okay, any additional discussion?
The other additional discussion I have to say is now if the other two property owners there want to have the same thing, well, one, they're not here. We don't have it has to be in writing though. Okay, so if that does come in,
Yeah,
if theirs comes in, then there should be set at the 9,500 too. The third person property owner, I don't know who that is, but in order for them to do that, they would have to have it also in writing to land services.
or show up, yep.
Now, did that one come in yet?
So this motion is just.
In my-
Yeah, you'll take that one
Yeah,
later
we can
when it
take-
does. Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
I
Okay.
just need to understand for my neighbors, what do I tell them?
Well,
that-
you're,
that are
this is
part of
just for
that-
your, this is just for yours.
This is just me,
Yeah, this
yeah.
is
Yep,
just for
just you.
yours. Okay, all those in favor of reducing this to 9,500 signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next
I'll
up,
talk
Brad
to you guys
Fleener.
later, yeah.
Yep.
Hi, Brad Fleener. My address is 5898 Nashway Road, Nisswa. And I'm just here for your consideration to adjust the market value on a wooded lot that I own. It's actually adjacent to my main property. Since I bought this home and that property, yeah, the one highlighted there, in mid-2021, the market values increased 182% in 4 or 5 years, just under 5 years. To really kind of speed this along, there's 3 lots together there from right to the left of my lot. My lot, my neighbor's lot, yep, right there. And then the next lot, which the county actually purchased as part of the road
Oh,
improvement
the road.
project. And The market value on my neighbor's lot is currently for next year is 24,100 and some dollars, I think. I can't read my own writing. 24,100, and that's 0.28 acres. The lot that the county bought, which is similar to the size of my lot, is currently valued at $3,000. My market value is $49,100. So it's significantly higher than the other three. They're unbuildable lots. Between the lake setback and the road setback, I can't put anything on that lot. There's even a little bit of wetland on mine where the road used to drain into my lot. There's little wetlands there. So there's nothing on it. It's not buildable. The value of it, it's kind of like similar before. This is small dollars, but when you retire, you have more time to look at your personal finances. And so I just would like it to be equitable and fair is what I'm looking for.
What's the total acreage of that property?
It's 0.31 acres,
So it's not even an acre.
not even an acre.
And the valuation you said was,
For next year, it's 49,100. Last year I saw a 70% increase. And in 23, I saw a 45% increase on the market values of that lot. And I haven't done anything to it other than take brush out of it. The neighbor just purchased his lot, I believe, last year.
and that's on Round, correct?
So,
It's not on
No, it's
Round, it's
across
on
from Round.
Bass. It's on
so the
Bass
one
Lake.
that the
Oh,
county
okay,
purchased,
Yep.
is that where the retention? little
Stormwater
retention
pond.
pond
Yeah,
is?
2 over, actually,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they bought it for 55,000, yeah.
And by the way, that whole project was great. Those guys on site were great. The county was great. I wasn't happy with every answer I got, but I got answers and I got them quick. So you did a really good job.
So why would the county lot only be valued at 3,000, but then the other ones would be like 49,000 or?
Because you can't do anything with that other lot. It's totally encumbered with stormwater pond.
It is.
Totally unusable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
What year did you purchase your home? Just a few
I
years
think
ago?
we moved in, I want to say it was in July of 21.
21.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, at 385, you bought both lots, I'm assuming, at the same time.
I did. Yes.
And today we're at 435, 100 for both lots. So the appreciation over the last 4 years, we did the percentage on that. While obviously we have 2 lots and we have to portion out where the land goes, it doesn't seem out of line and maybe on the light side as far as what most of the folks in Nisswa have seen, just for your consideration, council. It boils down to, can you sell it for 435,000? I totally get it looks weird that the county's is only 3,000, but
Mhm.
that's been physically altered and can never do anything, but water's gonna be running into the middle for,
Right.
for in a time, you say. Your neighbor's lot, a little bit more narrow, but I think they own the house across the road now.
He does. He
Yeah.
owns a place on Round Lake.
Yep.
Yeah, which I would have thought, what did I hear? I thought that had something to do with the valuation was tied to the valuation of a home on Round Lake, which is not the valuation you're gonna see out of a home that's just sitting on Little Bass Lake,
Correct.
right?
No, correct.
Yeah, so, but anyway, I mean, that's as much detail as I actually have. But what I'm saying is I've seen significant increases here. They're unusable lots. The neighbor just bought the lot last year right next door to me. And his market value from the county for next year is half of what mine is.
Mhm.
And they're identical lots. I mean, if anything, I would argue he's probably got a little nicer lot than I do.
Well, I think I've been pretty transparent on where I stand on everything. I'm in favor of bringing it down if people are taking the time to show up and share your perspective and it makes sense. That's where I stand, but I realize I'm just one voice up here, so.
No, I understand. I respectfully just want to say, please don't reward people just for showing up at your meeting. That's not what this is for. What this is for is to objectively go, can they sell the property for what the county has on it? Otherwise, next year you'll have 5,000 people here. And that's okay. The problem is you're gonna lower all these values and the taxes aren't gonna go down. I don't know that you're making the connection on some of that. I will say that we do have an assessor recommendation on his neighbor's lot, where we were gonna bring that to $24,100. They're very similar. So that's maybe something you want to consider, that, those two lots that are side by side that are most likely unbuildable. I wouldn't say totally, maybe you could do a very small garage or something maybe, but I know that it is somewhat swampy when you get close to the lake.
Yeah, the first third of the lot, well, not even the lake, it's the road. The first third of the lot next to the road is all wet.
All wet.
Yeah.
So it is a challenging lot, and then I would say that there's maybe something there on this one to consider.
So he should have more of a similar valuation that as his neighbor at that 24,000 versus the 49.
Yeah, I think that's probably more fair in
Yeah.
this situation.
Mhm.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I just did the math based on the neighbor and I came up with 26.6, but that's just using back of the napkin math. You guys.
So
do
you're
your-
saying you want it higher?
No,
I'm
the
just kidding. I'm just
valuation.
kidding.
But anyway, I appreciate your time and that's the situation. And if you can, I don't know if you make a decision here or not, but
I would be in favor of bringing his lot down to the neighbors because it sounds like even the county is
Right, so would I.
in agreement with that too. Okay, so I guess if we need an official motion, I will motion to bring the value of your lot down to
24,100.
24,100. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Perfect.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
You bet,
Good
sir.
job.
I have a Kim and Steve. I didn't get the last name. Lucas, okay. Sorry about that.
No, so we are over on 4991 Wilderness Ridge Road on Lower Cullen. Just here to possibly reconsider how hard we're getting hit. The last 4 years, it's gone like 20, now this year I think it was 30% increase, we're up 190,000 over last year's property value.
I think it was mainly the sticker shock that hurt us the most. We also just retired. I did.
But, you know.
So, it's one of those things where, a 30.5% increase in 1 year, it went up to 812 from 622. The neighbor house, right next door was under, England is under Moore now. That one just sold about a year and a half ago for about $500,000. And it's very similar, a little bit smaller.
No, it's more lakeshore there
Yeah.
for the Moore property, but
And that's a cabin and ours is a cabin. We don't live there. But on the other side, it's a home. So the house has got to come in some sort of value there.
Sure. Can you throw the value screen up? Sandra, are you driving on that? The other value increased from 622,700 to 812,500. The thing with, in particular with Lower Cullen, there were 4 sales on that body of water. We went up on all buildings throughout the county. And in addition to that with Lower Cullen, that went up $1,100 a foot to, up to $4,000 per front foot. So after we did those steep increases, here are the ratios on the for sales after increase: 84%, 86%, 96%, and 97%. When you get the median of all those sales, we're at 91%. State statute requires we must be between 90 and 105%. We're at 91%. That's about as low as you can go with the data set that we had on this lake. We're not over on any property, and it actually says I know, Mayor, you're not gonna want to hear, but that we could have or should have maybe increased values even more. But that's what the data told us on Lower Cullen, with what is sold. That we can definitely look at, that sale that you guys were talking about and compare what you guys have to theirs to see if that makes sense. But that is why we did what we did on Lower Cullen.
Yeah, it's just pretty shocking, you know, to go from 400,000 to 820,000 in 5 years.
Mhm.
You talk about taxing people right off the lake. That's exactly what's happening. I mean, it was bad in 2020. I think we had a 26% increase and then like a 19% increase, but to go with a 30.5% increase this year, that just literally, I couldn't even believe it when I opened up the envelope. It was
It feels
so
like we
shocking.
get so penalized by someone coming up and overpaying for a piece of property somewhere around our lake, you know. I don't think that's a fair thing for the residents and the people of the city. We're a debacle away in Minneapolis for everything tripling again up here, you know.
Sure, and it looks like your taxes were about 4,800 in 2021. And now, they're just over 5,000, so they went up about $250 in 4 years. So I understand that that's increasing. But when you look at those value increases, and you alluded to 19%, 20-some percent, your taxes didn't do that. And so what I want to try to help with on that is, instead of us talking about these value increases and folks are kind of concerned about that, what if we went back in time in 2008, 9, 10, when we were actually lowering all the values? And values were going down 10, 15, 20%. So as the county assessor, you know, I do have the authority to raise or lower values on all properties in the county. And if I had to, let's just say all the data showed that we have to slash everything in half. So if we took your property values on Lower Cullen all the way around the lake, and we slashed them in half. And we went to Gull, we slashed them in half. We go to downtown Nisswa, slash all the values in half. What do your taxes do?
I'd be happy with them going down.
But they won't go down.
So you're saying the taxable market value has absolutely nothing to do
I
with our
didn't, no,
taxes?
no, it's not absolutely nothing, but the number one driver of what you are gonna pay out of your pocket for taxes isn't your value. It's government spending. It's how much money does the city, county, and school need to operate the services that they deem they want to provide to the citizens. And so in that hypothetical I was talking about, if we slashed everything across the board countywide by 50%, and your school district, your cities and townships in your county say, you know what, we don't need any more money, but everybody now is worth on paper for real estate half, your taxes stay the same. They don't go down by half. They don't go down a nickel because government spending wasn't reduced.
Well, we're not really talking about everybody in the city of Nisswa. We're talking about the people around the lakeshore.
Yeah.
Sure.
They're really getting gouged. And like us, we, you know, made this our goal to get this place, and be able to have it through retirement and get it to our kids, and have them be able to afford it after we're gone. And these dreams are going, you know.
And I get it. It's $4,900 2 years ago. Your taxes have went up about $125 in 3 years.
And what's it gonna be next year when our house is valued at 812? I mean,
Right,
the
what'll match-
cabin, it's not a house. It's,
Sure, but what it'll be is you're not alone. So if you were the only one going up 30%, your taxes are definitely going up. That's how that value plays into it. But a lot of lakes, not only in Nisswa, countywide, still are commanding a lot more money than what we had them assessed for. So all it means is, hey, I'm on paper, I'm worth more. We don't know what taxes are going to do because those elected Local elected officials have to decide what they want to spend in their budgets. That's gonna basically lock in how much you're gonna need, have to spend. I will say that your taxes went up from 47 to 5,000 this year. Do you guys homestead here?
Mm-mm.
Oh, is this, okay.
No, it's a cabin.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was just gonna go down the property
It was
tax
built in
refund programs that
'67.
could help you.
It's not a, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll save that spiel. But you will see, taxes, your value went from 500 and, geez, I should have worn my glasses today.
Yeah.
Up to, was that 600 and something? And your taxes went from 4,900 to 4,700. So your value can go up and your taxes can go down.
But it was a lot less of a increase last
Oh,
year. And
I
even, you
understand,
know,
I do
I mean, this
understand
is,
that.
this is so significant. Honest to God, if somebody were to come in and look at our cabin, it's not just the land, it's not just the lake
Sure.
shore, it's the home on there too. We have a unattached double car garage. It's a cabin. Needs a lot of work.
Can we see the photos, please?
You know, it's got a new paint job on it, so it felt like, you know, we painted it and all of a sudden it just like, whoa, now it's worth a lot, but it does look better, but
Yeah.
it to take yeah,
There it is.
yeah,
So,
$190,000 increase on it in 1 year is, and you know, it's gonna affect our taxes significantly. I don't expect we'll have a $500 increase in our taxes next year. I'm sure based on that, it's gonna be a whole lot more. That's our concern.
Sure.
also concern is it gonna be up another $200,000 the following year, because, you know, what's, is
Yeah.
But
there any point of a stop to this?
But
You know,
I think maybe what people are missing is there's
Here for a
not a
second.
direct correlation between the value of your house
But there's
and the
some.
tax dollars, because the tax dollars is, you know, correct me if I'm wrong and explain this, there's not the direct correlation of what the value is of the house. Everything's going up, you know.
Yeah.
Basically, that's saying you guys are making a good investment. But what the cities, you know, how much it costs for the roads, all that stuff is what's driving it. You know, like I said, the elected officials and what they're spending each year is what's driving it. So from that standpoint, the value going up, that's positive. I mean, you know, slash it, you know, when home prices dropped in 2009, 2010, nobody liked that. There's far more people that hate that scenario than
Why
this
would anybody
scenario.
hate that? I don't understand. I mean.
If they're
Well,
trying to
you-
sell or
you're-
trying to
you're
market
losing,
it.
then you're losing money out of your pocket. You know, you go try and sell it. Now you went and paid $500,000 for this house. Now it got slashed in half. You can only sell it for 250,000. You just lost $250,000, you know,
So-
but that's what they're saying. Just because it increased in value on the potential of what you could sell for it, you know, a lot of the dollar amount based upon what the tax thing is, how much the county needs to spend out, like for the school districts, the roads, the upkeep of the county.
Yeah.
And it's not a direct exact correlation with the two of them.
It's not a direct exact correlation, but it
Correct.
is considered, isn't it? If it goes up
Sure.
$200,000, you're gonna raise our taxes more than you are if somebody's home only went up 10% versus 30%. You're gonna raise ours equivocally, that much more than you would to somebody else whose value didn't go up. So it's a tough pill to swallow. We're on a dirt driveway, you know, it's a dirt road that we're on. I just
Which
don't
we're
see
building.
where all of a sudden everything, like, wow, all of a sudden it's worth so much more. It's just, it's seems rather high.
It's just a huge hit for 1 year.
Yeah, it's huge.
That,
For 1 year,
you
it's,
know, that, I mean.
I've
like
never
you were
been in
saying-
here before, but this is
So the increase is $120?
190,000.
190,000
No, what's the,
The
tax,
the
not-
taxes
not-
that you pay.
taxable market value.
yeah,
No, I'm not
No.
looking at that. So
what you're paying out of pocket? It's a $120 increase?
No, it went from 4762 to 5054. I was comparing to 2 years ago, they were at $4,900. It actually decreased in 2023 and now it increased in 2024, or for paid 2025 here to 5,054.
And our
But
concern is.
none of
for
that
next
is,
year.
none of it is 10%, none of it is 30%.
No, on what we're paying, right, so it kind of feels like if they put the market value up 190,000 and they raise our payment by $300 or $600 a year, whatever. The following year, they're probably gonna raise our payment up to match the market value more, and we're just gonna keep climbing that way? Is that the way, is that the wrong way to see how that's happening, or?
Yeah, it's,
I think so. Oh.
that's kind of a wrong way to look at it. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, or
Um,
is this just a way to calm us into it by?
values here. County and city and school
Yeah,
need X dollars to operate and go. Your valuation goes up here. If their need doesn't go up,
we'll stay,
it stays pretty the same. So it,
Really, for sure.
if the needs, but has that
Right.
ever happened?
what's that?
That their needs haven't gone up?
Well, right there, it shows it went down in
Yeah,
23
yeah,
because of that. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, you just look back 2 years and that happened in 23.
You're in the only county in the state history that cut their levy 8 years in a row. No
Yes.
other county in the whole state of Minnesota's history has ever done that.
Crow Wing.
That's why when we as a council look at the levy and the budget, we'd love to keep it at the same.
Yeah.
But then you have roads, you have other, wages and stuff that come up and go up there. So we
Yeah,
try
yeah.
to keep it so we're not taking more than we actually use. Sometimes people look at the levy that we put in there and they go, oh my God, well, yes, that's things have come in.
The other thing, I guess maybe
I
to
can
look
show you
at
my tax bill.
is over the last 5 years of history you have on the screen, your taxes
Mhm.
basically have averaged $100 a year. So I totally understand, oh my gosh, what's it gonna be,
Yeah.
500?
That's our scare.
History shows you've been going about $100 a year in the last 5 years.
That's
But the increases have been,
That's
of the
just-
value hasn't been.
not on the
is-
market.
Yeah, the
we're
market
not- We haven't been
value.
looking at, so the market value and what we pay, I mean, they're two different areas. They're two
And our
different-
neighbors,
yeah.
what that one just sold for, that was like 500,000 and some change about a year and a
But-
half ago.
Which you overpaid probably on, that,
Yeah, he did.
but
But
I guess we just wanted to make our point with you, and
Sure.
I don't,
and maybe this isn't the place either, but I know that they did do a curb on Wilderness Ridge Road, on Wilderness Road that goes to Wilderness Ridge, the dirt road. They put in a curb where you turn onto Wilderness Ridge Road, which is the dirt road. And it's a kind of a windy curve. They have a speed limit of 10 and everybody goes 40. We have been hit more times than we've been almost hit more times than I can tell you coming
Yeah.
out or going in because you have to go so slow to get up
Yeah.
over that big
Well,
bump.
yeah, like I said,
that
this
they
isn't
put
the
in.
time or place for that, but it's like, they should have done like an approach
Yeah.
concrete, but right now, if I come out with a boat or a trailer with that, I gotta bounce over real slow and cars come around the corner at, 30, 40 miles an hour, which is what they're gonna drive, it's been close a few times.
Mm.
And when they first put the curb in, I did kind of appeal that what they were doing there, and it should have been a smooth approach and, makes a,
And I don't know if that would be something that we send you an
If-
email on that, or is that?
That's
nothing
a
to do-
city, that's a city
That's a
issue.
city, that's
Yeah.
a city.
yeah.
So I know
That one-
another
that-
time for that, but
Everybody on
it,
Wilderness Ridge Road, would probably get on a piece of paper about. that.
everybody hates it, that
It's
all our neighbors.
but anyways,
I know that's a different
yeah,
topic, but
yeah, thanks for your time.
thank you, Jennifer. Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys too. Do we
Yeah.
need to make a motion?
Thanks.
Motion?
Yes,
Or no?
We'll wait and see what
So
they
does
say.
one of you guys want to make a motion?
We don't need to.
Oh,
Yeah, at this point, I would just make a motion for no change.
And what, if I can help with
In our
that, quick,
taxes, right?
no change in the value. Here's the thing that happens today for anybody that appeals. If you get relief and you're satisfied, great. If say, you still feel, I just don't believe we can get to 800 and some for our property. You still have the option to go to the County Board of Commissioners, June 16th, and present any other information or the same, information, to have others consider, lowering those values. That's the beauty of property tax. You don't have to agree with the assessors. Not a lot of people do. You have kind of independent parties trying to wrestle with what's fair and equitable for you. That is correct.
So Mark, you have a motion?
Second.
Okay, any additional discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan Millie Amundson.
Hi, I'm Millie Amundson, and we live at 25353 Twin Leaf Circle, Nisswa. And last year, and I know you said you didn't want to hear about last year, but last year I called to see why the taxes had gone up so much, because it had gone up 17%. And then this year, it went up almost 22%. We're paying $3,604 for a 0.19 acre. It's an 100 by 100 parcel with a one-level house, no basement. It has a crawl space because it has the furnace in the bottom. But we feel that we're being overcharged for that little parcel. We had to downsize from 1.5 acres from in Pequot Lakes to this 100 by 100 parcel, because I had to find someplace that I could do the work, and that my husband was in a wheelchair when we moved. And I think that it's gone up so much in the last, we've only been here 3 full years that we've gotten taxes on. And it keeps going up. We first had $2,500. Now it's $3,604. $1,000 increase in 2 years. And then our neighbor, who is trying to sell his place, which is quite similar to ours, tried to get 500 or 450,000, because that's what his estimated market value was. And he couldn't, so it's down to 440,000, and it still hasn't sold. So I think that our estimated market value is above what it truly is. When the assessor came last summer, I was not available. I don't know where I was, but my husband said that he came to the door. He asked how many bedrooms we had and if we had a basement or a crawl space, and then he left. He didn't come in. He didn't take a look at, the little place that we have now. So I feel that this is a lot more than, and we're both retired too. And if it keeps going up 21% every year, we're going to be taxed out of our place because we can't afford that.
Members of the council, if you see up on the screen there, the estimated market value went from last year's assessment of $462,150 to $440,350. So it has been reduced by
For
20.
next year, that's,
And that is what the city council today is only able to adjust for the 2025 assessment today. Previous year's assessments, which are based on different data sets, are unappealable, I should say today. It's just that current valuation that it has been reduced from last year.
How does that happen? That our house went from $350,000 home to a $462,000 home in 2 years?
Mhm.
In 2 years. Yes, you're saying that maybe next year we're only going to pay on 440,000. How did you lower it by 22,000? We haven't done anything to that house.
Sure, it's based on some sales that have happened right there around Twin Leaf or other similar little neighborhoods. We have a sale that's right there that, very similar home, sold for $430,000. If you wanted to pull up 811, but what it's all based on is basically sales of property, similar property, and we've had quite a few sales in Twin Leaf. You know, there've been newer homes over the last
Yeah,
4
bigger
years.
homes.
Some are
Yeah.
bigger homes. This one that I'll show you is the same size. So that's why we arrive at that understanding that, you know, we believe you'd get to 440,000. So what we believe has happened is the market has got really hot in, you know, on that type of property. And now it's kind of started to, we see this starting to, you can say cool down or rescind a little bit. We
Mhm.
still are waiting to see the lakeshore do that, but we are starting to see some of the off water start to do that a little bit, where we haven't necessarily seen that yet on some of the water influence property.
Well, we don't have Lakeshore. It's a 0.19 acre home.
Well, the only thing I would say, you guys are in a common interest community. So you share in the recreation of all of the land that's not inside those little postage stamps. And if my understanding, when this whole thing went, when the bank foreclosed on it back in, I don't know, was it 2010, before they started building the homes on the first developer. And they're like a little skinny thing that goes out to Clark. Not saying that that's a big deal, but I do believe there is a little, you can go, you know. Correct. Oh, yeah, there you go. And a little dock out there that you can go and look at the lake a little bit and, you know, just part of your ownership. So you do have use and benefit of that, where if you had the same home, not in this development, they don't have that.
So if we sell that little thing that you're talking about, then the value of all the homes in Twin Leaf will go down? Because I'm on the HOA. I know what you're talking about, and nobody uses it. So if we sell that little thing, all the houses, the value of the houses will go down?
I'm sure they'd go down a little bit. Yep.
I'll bring that up then. But
But I can't remember if that's part of that
if it
actual
keeps
plat or
going
not.
up
It
by
is.
Is it?
22% every year. And yes, the value is to go down a little bit, but we can't sustain that kind of an increase. We can't. When you're retired, you're living on Social Security and a little bit of pension.
I'm assuming you live here. And I hope you're taking full advantage of the property tax refund program. If there was no new construction on this home and this was all appreciation in the market, your taxes, you know, went up about $650, $660. Two ways to qualify for property tax refund in the state of Minnesota. The first one is income-based. So you say you're on a fixed income or you're retired. So how much income did I get? Here are my taxes. It basically, you do this and it
Oh,
tells you how much you
I
get.
went and I got a little bit of a refund last year from property taxes, because I went out on the website.
Sure.
And I signed up because ours was higher than the norm.
Well, and I don't know exactly what you know, you got, but I will tell you that, I'm sure it was north of $500-600 to, help you with some of those property tax increases.
Mhm.
That's what has happened. We don't see it here anymore in these meetings.
Sure.
But they've put a lot more money in those property tax refund programs to help with your property taxes spike.
Mhm.
So I do, it sounds like you're already taking advantage of that, which can greatly help.
Oh, yeah, we have to look every place we can,
Sure.
now.
Is there anything the council would like to see on this one? But yeah, mainly a Twin Leaf, neighborhood was, did go down and estimated market value, for 2025.
Yeah, next year. Or for,
But this year, yeah, this year's
2025.
assessment for taxes next
but
year.
not the taxes that I'm paying this year.
That's correct, ma'am.
I don't think we can affect that. It's only for next year.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna do anything?
We can't.
We
It's
can't
only
for this year.
future.
Yeah, it's only for next year.
Yeah, so literally, we can't do anything about it for this year.
For
So
what I'm paying
the-
this year?
Yeah,
Correct.
we can't. That's not what this is about. It's for next year. So
Oh.
we cannot do anything about it for this year.
It's the, what they have control on today is if they believe you could sell your property as of January 2nd for 440,000. If they believe that that's too high, that's what they have control over today is, oh, maybe that's still too high and we want it at 350. I'm just throwing out a arbitrary number there, but that's what they have, in control today to do.
Okay, well, our neighbor is not able to sell his place at 440,000 either. And it is similar to ours, so
Is it, yeah, I don't know if
what
that's,
actually does sell for this year, I don't know what it will be.
and that's what happens is then whatever somebody sells their property for, we just react to it, basically follow, is the market going up? So people's values are increasing. Is the market going down? And we have to go down. There's frankly nothing easier for an assessor to do than lower property value. Everybody thinks we're out there, trying to get all this money for government, but that's not what we do. But when we lower value, it doesn't necessarily mean your taxes are gonna go down. I'm a broken record here today, but it goes back to how
So
much,
I might be paying the same amount next year, even though the value is down.
you could. It all depends on how much spending is gonna occur. And I'll just tell you, it seems pretty ugly right now with some of the shifts that the governor has proposed onto counties. It's really, and that's just at the county level. I haven't even been paying attention if he's been doing anything with the cities, or schools. I mean, yikesies.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. So we would need an official motion if you felt no change, just in case she would like to proceed to the next meeting.
I'll make a motion, no change. And I would say go to the June meeting.
Joe seconds it. Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Kent Wilkinen?
Hello, good afternoon. My name's Kent Wilkening. I live at 25201 Birch and Pine Lane in Nisswa. And I guess first off, I'd like to say my wife and I purchased our home 7 years ago. We didn't buy it as an investment. We bought it as a retirement home where 4 years ago I retired and we moved up here. So this is my forever home. It's not an investment. When we bought it 7 years ago, the market value was very low, reasonable. And over the past probably 4 to 5 years, it's went from about 500,000 up to almost 1.2 million. In I think it was 22, it took a huge jump. Last year, it went up 51,000 in value. Now for the next year, or it went up to 200,000, a little over 200,000. And I understand the sales and everything like that. But we had a lot of sales around this area in the previous years. And like I said, it went up 51,000, I think it was from 23 to 24. Now from 24 to 25, or it's going up 200,000. That's a pretty good jump. And it used to be that when a person made some improvements to their home, maybe did an addition or something like that, that's what drove the value up. I'd hate to see what would happen if I did do an addition or some improvements to the property on how much it would go up. And as you can see, my property taxes have went up, I think significantly over the years that we've owned this. I also understand that, the county is just following what the state says you have to do on sales. I've been here previously and I've been told, if you don't like it, go to your legislators, and complain about that. Well, me as an individual, doesn't have a lot of weight. But if the county went through their association, Minnesota, counties, and the city went through the League of Minnesota Cities and all went in and complained about, we're taxing our people out of their homes because we're raising our values to keep up with sales, they may listen to the AMC and they may listen to the LMC over just an individual taxpayer going in. And I understand, but my being here, and telling me my value is not going to go down, it gives me the right to go to the county board and explain my position. Like I said, 51,000 from one year to the next. Yeah, I understand that, but over 200,000, that to me is a pretty good jump. I live on a lake, and it's a beautiful lake. But I bought this as a retirement home. And like many of the other ones too, I'm on a fixed income also. Like I said, I think this was just a little bit, my next door neighbor has a seasonal cabin and he winterizes it. And his went up, I think about the same. And I always kind of was under the impression that a seasonal or recreational property may be valued or taxed differently than a property that's homesteaded. And we homestead this, and this is where we live. So I thought there was a little bit of a difference in, people that just had a recreational seasonal, that their values may go up more over than people that are living, at their homes.
Sure. To that question, sir, when it comes to valuation, the classification plays no, I want to say part of it. So whether you live in the home or it's your second home, we value them the same regardless of that occupancy. You should be able to sell it. We don't know if the next owner is going to live there or not. But what is the difference is how they're taxed. So the value is the value. And if you live in your home, you pay to the school voted referendum. And if you're a seasonal property, you pay to what's called a state general tax. And that money leaves our community, goes to St. Paul, and they have a formula with its income and real estate values and stuff. And that gets reallocated out to school districts throughout the state. For every dollar that leaves Crow Wing County, I think we get just a little bit, Crosby Ironton gets just a little bit of money back, but a lot of money leaves here and never comes back to our communities because of the state general tax issue. But that's bigger than our meeting here today. But that's really the only difference there. The folks that are seasonal are now not eligible to apply for property tax refund. And if you get over 500 and I think it's 580 now or something, you wouldn't get any homestead exclusion anymore, but you still have the ability to seek some relief with the property tax refund program.
And that's a big thing because it used to where I moved from, I always got, when I homesteaded, my taxes were cut in half because of that homestead, exclusion. Here it's taken away because the value of my home is so much higher.
Well, and what it used to be too was that state general tax used to be a lot higher of a tax, more of like I'd say a penalty almost. Where what's happened over the last, say, decade with school referendums, they are you know, it's
Yeah, it's bad.
depending on the school district, some of the referendums are more than the state general tax is. So the folks that live there pay more tax than the folks that are seasonal, depending on the school district.
Yep.
You
And,
know?
and I understand in the past couple of years, my taxes, they've fluctuated, go down a little bit. But what this does is by increasing my value 200,000, it gives you the ability to tax me a lot more. You know, it does, because my value went up, you know, you can raise the taxes. Like I said, my gripe is I keep hearing, well, if you don't like it, go to the state. Well, my gripe to you guys is do it with your associations and you have more of a voice. If you really want to make sure that my taxes don't go up, you go to the legislature and you say, we can't afford to do what we're doing anymore. We're, you know, taxing people out of their homes. And that's, like I said, 51,000 in 1 year. To me, that it's, yeah, it's enough, but when it goes up 202,000, you know, 200,000, that's a lot.
I totally understand. I will, if you're not familiar too, if the state of Minnesota also has a senior citizen deferral program. So if it is the real estate taxes that are going to prevent you from staying in your home, that, oh my gosh, I can't stay here no more because I can't afford to. There is a senior citizen deferral that you can defer all those taxes until the time you either pass away or sell the property so that you can remain in your home and so that it isn't the taxes that drive you out. So there is that too, if you weren't aware of that program.
Yeah,
Kent, what
and,
lake are you on?
Roy,
Roy?
yep.
Yeah.
And I don't, did you mention how much that one went up per?
Sure. Roy Lake, it currently is at 8,000. It went up $1,600 a foot. So $160,000 for 100 feet of lake shore.
And I've got like 101 or
Yeah, that's
whatever
it.
Yeah.
lake shore, so.
No, but we sure can when you come up.
So that's just, you know, I've been here before. I know that I have to be here to get to the county board.
Sure.
So that's why I'm here.
The four cells, similar to kind of what I said on Lower Cullen, the four cells that happened on Roy Lake, the median sale price after we did that huge frontage adjustment and values of structures have went up, we're at 94.5%. So again, the data is showing, yes, we increased a lot, but people still paid more than what we have for the assessed values on Roy Lake. It's unbelievable what they paid.
And if my investment portfolio went up as much as my home value,
I hear you.
I'd be doing really well.
I hear you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks. Do we need to make a motion so he can go to the county level?
I make a motion, no change.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Eric Flam?
Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate you all giving us an opportunity to come and talk. I'm losing my voice, so allergy season. Did you guys get the authorization? Okay, so do you want to start with that then? So that's the property at 4256 Upper Roy Lake Road.
So we motioned,
It was
be at
9,500 on that
correct?
other one, yep. So if you want the parcel number is what they'll need, Sandra. Upper Roy Lake Road. Yeah.
And your relative is.
It's my father-in-law, Ken Ben Scooter.
Do you know if they're looking at the lake, are they the left or the right of Shirley that was here earlier?
I
do you know?
believe they're the furthest left because the people that own the property that did all the enhancements and put gates up, they're definitely infringing on that stretch
Eckleberry?
of property. What's that?
Eckleberry? Is that the
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Okay. That would be parcel number 281000500. So they have a representative asking for the 9,500 if that's what you guys want to do.
I'll make a motion to lower it to 9,500.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you. And in some context, the property that sold for like 700, that crazy amount.
695,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is an investment property and they verbo it and they use that dock. They're the only ones that put a dock out. And that's part of their advertisement on Verbo is you have access to the Gull chain as well as Aetna. So that's strictly an investment property. They didn't care at all what they paid for it, which is why it was so inflated at the time. So,
Sure.
all right. So actually that property kind of ties into the background of what I'm here to discuss. So my in-laws have been coming up here since the 50s. Grandma Eckleberry bought that property, and so my wife grew up and coming up here. And so one of our long-term goals, I just turned 56. I really shouldn't share that, but it's like getting closer to retirement. And what we want to do is have a summer place to come up and retire and spend our summers in Minnesota. A lot of people do that. And so we've looked and it's not very affordable to buy a lake home on Gull or Hubert or any of the places. But we kept looking and persevering and we found a place on the same lake. And subsequently, my wife's couple first cousins have also bought property on Edna. And so we got a whole row of family, which is really cool. We ended up on the Fawn side. So the address is 26314 Padre Place. Yeah, and we just purchased that at the end of 2023. So we've been there for a little over a year. The property, I will freely admit, we way overpaid for it based on what we got as far as the building. There's no garage. The property is 740 square feet. It was built in the 1940s. It's been kind of cobbled together over the years. Bedrooms are 8x9. They're tiny. They barely fit a bed in there. No closets, no storage, no anything. The property is absolutely beautiful, but our plan is long-term. We weren't looking at this as, we'll buy it, use it, turn around and sell it someday and make some money on it. We looked at it as, here's an opportunity if we can add a garage or build something, further into the property that we can retire in, whatever, that we would kind of build it out as we go towards retirement. So we took money out of our retirement. That's how dedicated we were. This is part of our retirement plan. So we paid for this out of our retirement funds. And the first thing we did, and I will commend the city. You guys were wonderful to work with. One issue we had was the steps going down to the lake. There's not really flat elevation on that lot except where the cabin's actually sitting. Horrible railroad tie stairs. They were rotting and very dangerous. We had a landscaper come out and he looked at our boulder walls and there's 600-pound boulders that are just kind of stacked on top of each other. And so what was going to be just a little stair project turned into a much bigger project. Cost a lot of money and that was an unforeseen expense. So we did that one improvement. And then when I got the tax bill for this year, I'm like, well, that's kind of an alignment with what we paid. We got a valuation of $430,000, but our taxes went way up. And then I saw the valuation for next year's taxes. And then I was really shocked. And I'm like, we've made no improvements other than fixing the landscaping, which was a complete danger. And our land value went up 105%. Our building value went up 51%, which is a total of 88%. And then our actual tax dollars, which seems to be the more focus, went up 93%. So if I estimate next year's taxes based on just this year's rate, we're gonna go from $2,488 to almost $5,000 in 1 year of owning that place. So when I look at that and I look at the neighboring properties, we're serviced by a private road, so we have to maintain that private road, and the people next to us that get to their property, they're seasonal. So I've already had to put money into the road because people use it as a side-by-side recreational trail. But regardless of that, when I'm looking at kind of future state, we haven't made no improvements. I'm frightened to do anything with the property now because we're at such a high value already for essentially I don't believe for a minute, based on the fact that we've had a lot sitting on that lake for 2 or 3 years for 170 grand that hasn't been able to sell, and it's lakefront. The building itself has almost no value, but I'm getting taxed at $170 a square foot. So to put that in context, Fawn Ridge, you have to drive through, which is a new development to get to our place. We're at the same per square foot value on their main living quarters, and they all have walkout basements. They're 4,000 or 5,000 square foot homes, and they're in that 170 range. If I go around and look on the lake at places that are similar to ours, that are, all of them are bigger, they're typically in the $90 to $120 per square foot range. And it's the same thing with the land. Just adjoining us, we've got one parcel, it's 2.47 acres, that's 219,000 value versus our $372,000 value. 2 doors down, a lovely retired lady. She's got 5.7 acres, far more frontage than we do, and her valuation's at $292,000. So her 5-acre parcel's less than our 2.15 acre parcel. The previous owner did subdivide it, so that's what that big garage there is not part of our property. And then right next door to us again is another 2.6 acre parcel. I believe that one has a cabin on it. They're valued at $282,000 land value. So I'm looking at it, trying to figure out what drove, less important the value, but what drove our taxes to they're going to double essentially from the time we purchased till today.
He mentioned he bought it in 2023
At the very end, yeah, we closed in
for
like
477,000. Our current value is 501, so it's basically 5% appreciated from 2023 to basically 2025. You heard the folks that have been here before he's been up, they've seen a lot more than a 5% increase this year alone. 5 sales on Edna and Fawn, median sale ratio is right at 99%. So these are the cases that they help us understand how much the property is worth. It's what they were willing to pay for it. And that's where we're at on this. When you compare that, he's got 2.5, I think, acres, if I seen that right. The other ones had some more acreage, but it's the frontage that drives the value, not the acreage. So the more frontage you have and you have elbow room, so you're not tripping over your neighbor's dock, is worth a lot more than having an extra acre behind it. That's what we see in the sales is, I mean, hopefully that kind of makes sense. If you see any realtor listing out there, what do they lead with? How much frontage you have? Not so much, acreage is important, don't get me wrong, but that's why there's a discrepancy and why this one's more than some of the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to definitely keep in mind is that there's only probably 10% of that is actually usable as lakefront. The rest of it is all marsh and wetlands. Like you couldn't put a dock out there.
Sure.
I'm in the same situation and it still keeps going up. Because it's now a desirable lake. But my whole frontage is bog.
Yeah.
Does that factor in at all to the
Oh, sure.
calculation or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
Yeah.
just to give you an idea, in the 2023 valuation, it was $267,000. It's
Mhm.
now going to be $501,000.
Can you pull up the pictures? of
Is
the
that on
property?
Fawn?
Yeah.
Let's see frontage
And-
on that one.
And also he said something, you said that you have to drive through that, I know what development
We
you're
have a-
talking
we have a
about.
private
Yeah, with
road
those
and it-
bigger homes.
Sandy,
Is,
just
is,
read the
is it
photos,
getting
yeah.
compared to that? Cause those are totally
Lakeshore,
different.
Sandra.
Do you know, I know that development.
Yeah, but no, it's just with the lake shore.
Oh, it's the Lake Shore.
Yeah, and that's the money that we put into it. We had to,
That's-
we got rid of the stairs and
Right.
put some safe stairs in, and then
Looks
we
like
had to
a nice lake
rework
shore.
all the boulder walls because they were all
Nice
crumbling
beach.
and falling.
One of the things that has happened too is, we wanna, pick on Gull or Whitefish or Pelican Bay, Hubert, some of these that are real expensive lakes. A lot of people are priced off those bodies of water.
Right.
And they're spending and choosing to buy on these smaller lakes, which is also impacting the value on these smaller, still nice lakes, don't get me wrong, but they can get a lot more bang for the buck, you could say, on the smaller bodies of water than $1 million lot on Gull. And it's just putting more pressure on, and what people are able to sell their properties for on the smaller bodies of water too.
So it was a 5% increase. What was the dollar, what was that 5% in a dollar value?
In the tax.
Oh, well, I was just saying it's a 5% increase from what he paid for the property.
Right.
We were
I've
at,
understood that.
our increase was 431 to 501.
So
and-
70
Yeah,
roughly.
roughly, yeah.
Do you have more pictures of the property? You know, you had mentioned you enhanced the landscape.
Yeah, we rebuilt all the boulder walls.
Redid all that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, just in that, it looks like, the value would be there in just the increase in the landscaping.
Well, it did have walls there before, but they were falling apart. And the only other building on that entire property is a garden shed, basically. We don't have, so, I mean, the reality is we're, like, if I'm gonna build a garage on there, does that mean that garage is gonna add another 100 or 150 or $200,000? And then I'm gonna be here standing in front of you saying that a 740 square foot cabin that has literally you can't live in it because it doesn't have any storage, that's gonna be worth $700,000 or $800,000.
Well, it does depend on what you build, but I hope you can kind of understand where we're coming from, that you paid basically what we have on the property. So it's worth it to you. So why would somebody else not be willing to pay if you improve it with a garage? Let's say you build just $100,000 garage, depending on size, and are you gonna insulate line heat, all that kind of stuff? Why wouldn't they be willing to pay the 600,000? If that's what you choose to do. And if it's even 100,000, you could maybe do a smaller one at 50 or.
But how can you come up with $170 per square foot for that place? That's what I mean, I looked at 30 other homes on that lake. And most of them have walkout basements. They're newer. They're much bigger. And they're at or below the same square footage. And these are new, modern. I don't have central air. I don't have central heat.
I
The,
think,
the big factor with some of this is the lakes and everybody wanting them. So they look at the frontage that you have on the lake, usable or not. And that's a big determination in the valuations.
Well, it's not, it shouldn't be on the building. The price per square foot on your building is, you've got the valuation wrapped up in my land already. You're taxing me for the frontage and everything else. I'm literally talking about, it's essentially a shack.
So so your issue is the value of the house.
Well, I mean, kind of the combination of it, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that building itself is worth $130,000.
What does
as
your
it says.
insurance say it's worth? What's the
Whatever,
replacement cost
probably,
value?
I have no idea off the top of my head.
I mean, right now in the construction world, $170 per square foot is not a realistic price as far as any sort of living structure at any sort of replacement cost value in today's current market in this current industry rate in Crown County.
Well, again, I
if
just
you
doing
look
a
at-
comparison though, again, if you look at Fawn Ridge and you break down the building value by square foot,
Just I'm, pull the I'm photo up
sitting
and
right
leave
at
it
their
up.
level.
Right.
Other places on the lake that are comparable to mine
The
are
other one.
$110 a square foot, $90 a square foot. And then if you take into account, and that's just using upper floor square footage, if you take into account walkout basements, because that is not a finished basement. That's just a little,
Yeah.
that isn't, most of that place is on slab, because like I said, it's cobbled together.
So, I don't know how if you're just looking at the buildings, or you're looking at the overall value. I mean, we got 370,000 on the land, 100,000 on the cabin.
Well, it's 130,000 on the cabin.
And for 130,000, it doesn't go very far anymore with building material. So I don't,
Right, so
which
you're
ones, if you have a specific one that you want the council to look at, we sure can. But I will just say, I'm gonna go back to, it must have been worth it to you because you paid 477.
Yep, it definitely was for us. It kind of
So
made
now
us
why
spend
is it not worth it?
No, I'm saying as far as market value, I wouldn't, that place wouldn't even probably pass inspection if I tried to sell it.
Sure, but we do see a lot of, let's just say not year-round cabins that sell all the time. You know, there's still a lot of those around, and they still, it's kind of a niche-y thing that, a lot of folks are still looking for, they don't want the McMansion. They want something that's, one, more affordable, but they only need it for the summer. They're not up here in the winter, and I kind of get the feeling that is kind of what you have here a little bit.
Well, this was a long-term project. That's why we bought it. That's why we didn't look at this as an investment or we're gonna sell it in 5 years and use it and enjoy it. We were looking at this as part of building our retirement out.
Sure.
And the way the state of Minnesota works, I mean, if you're gonna retire with 401k and IRA money, first thing they tell you is get out of state, set up residency in Florida, Arizona, Texas, and then get a second home if you want to spend your summers up here. So that's what this is for us. It's not livable right now the way it is, so we wanted the land to be either to be able to add on, which is an issue because we're so close to the lake, or build another small house that's livable, that has closets and actual place to store and a little garage and stuff
Sure.
like that. So
Sure.
we have a grandiose plan for the next 10 years. But this definitely put a reality check on it. And the one thing I can just share, especially the people involved in budget, for every dollar you increase for people like me, that's less money we're going to spend in the communities. Like, we had ideas and plans for additional things we want to do to this property, and this completely put it on hold, because if we add continual value, we're not going to be able to afford $8,000 or $10,000 in taxes. It's just not going to happen. So appreciate you guys taking time to listen to me and taking care of my father-in-law. He'll be happy about that.
Anything else the council wants to see or hear from?
I do think
the
it's
county?
ridiculous you can raise somebody's property taxes, the actual dollar amount, by 3-figure percentage points. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, and this, I was just gonna say, it used to be, when I started this job about 23, 24 years ago, they used to have limits or limited market value that estimated market value, you still do whatever it did, but what you actually paid on, there were limits to that. It used to be 10%, then it went to 12%, went to 15, and then they phased it out. So now it is, what it is, but I understand. And for the folks that live in their home, and if that happens, that's where that property tax refund program really helps out. But yeah, if you're a Florida or Texas resident, there's not a lot of help, in the state for that.
So is it still the house that you're most?
Well, I still, I can't figure out, again, if I compare like my building value and my land value against, it's hard to find something similar because every place on that lake is bigger than ours. I can't find anything that's anywhere near $170 a square foot unless I get into like Fawn Ridge, like these brand new
Mhm.
state-of-the-art homes that have all the features and things like that. You know, they have shared lakefront, so I didn't even bother to look at their land value, but I went through probably 30 different property tax records last night and comparing just to see if I could argue with myself. And I'm like, I just, I don't get, I'm penalized for buying the property. It's that simple. I shouldn't have paid $477 for it. I mean, ultimately, that's my takeaway. Cause I literally drove the market up for myself.
Does it make any, I mean, I don't know, because one of the options,
Essentially,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yep,
I was
yeah.
not, I was really naive.
Basically, you're willing to pay for it,
Yeah.
and that's what some of this stuff is set off, so yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
essentially, that's,
My two things were, this is a fairly affordable place, but not really for what you're getting, low taxes, and I'm putting my wife on the same lake as in-laws and cousins. So I may have been a little dumb in making that decision, but yeah, I'm gonna have that open question on how my per square foot on that tiny little place can be that high. And if you're telling me that I'm paying tax based on, I should feel good about it because it would cost me more to replace it. I don't think that's a fair analogy. I feel.
I don't know that anyone said that.
Well, you were talking about construction costs and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I didn't say you should feel good.
Oh, yeah. I gotcha. I gotcha.
I don't know.
I mean,
Would it do anything if an assessor went back out there or not? Would it change anything?
We definitely still can, if he wants us to come out before county board, we sure can. We can continue to work with him on, the understanding why smaller builds do, go to Costco and buy a big thing of toilet paper versus going to Walgreens and buying the 4-pack. You build a larger home, it's gonna be cheaper per square foot. So if he's comparing a, 800 square foot cabin to a 1,500, 2,000 square foot house, yeah, the math ain't gonna come out. He's, oh geez, I'm too high. That's because you're dealing with a lot smaller and we do have a higher per square foot on those. Depreciated, don't get me wrong, it's not new by any means, and it's not a very high quality, because that plays into it too. But I think that's maybe one of the things, I don't know exactly which ones he's comparing to, but doing this long enough, that's one of the more common things that maybe get folks maybe a little confused.
Well, I mean, the perfect example is the person 2 doors down from me. Their place, I think, is 1,800 square feet or 2,000 square feet
Sure.
with more frontage and more, make it almost 6 acres. And their valuation and taxes are lower than mine.
And we can look at that. I thought you were worried about the,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Does it make sense to send someone
Yeah,
back out there
I'd
to
be
look
happy,
at
'cause I
it?
know somebody came out,
You
like
know,
I said, I didn't get a business
we do
card or
that,
anything.
yeah.
to
and we
follow.
must have been out there because we've been there since he did his landscaping and his sand
Oh.
Those are
blanket on
new
the lake.
pictures.
Oh, those are new pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they didn't look at, I wasn't there. They didn't leave a card or they weren't in the
What's the
building.
grade of the house? Okay. Yeah, so one of the other things you can do is if it's a no change today, we can set up an appointment with Mr. Flam to go out and review. If there's anything we need to change or lower, we can run that through county board. And or if we say, no, I think it looks good, he still can appeal to county board if he so felt compelled to do so.
Well, would you want someone to come back out and take a look and when you're there? and
Sure,
meet?
I'm gonna take the risk that they're not gonna add value to it based on walking the property and looking inside the building. So, yeah, I mean, if that's a possibility.
Sure.
Yeah,
Cause like I said, it was a shocking increase and definitely unexpected. And to put some perspective on it, that's a month of salary for me to pay property taxes on this property.
so do we need to motion to send someone back out?
So you have two options. Do you want us to go out and report back to this board? Or you can just say, no change here today, and we will make an appointment with him. And it's three things. One, we go out there, we find something and we need to raise the value. Not saying that. We go out there and we say, we are not going to change the value, but you still can appeal to the county board. Or we find that maybe the condition or there's something with the old cabin that we can agree on that could reduce some of the value, and that's what we run through county. So there's those options there. Just trying to be fully transparent. Not, I hope you don't take that as a threat, because I'm not trying to say, oh, we're gonna come out there and raise your value. I'm not, just trying to give you the whole gamut what happens.
I think we some,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
so
you take have someone come back out. It
Yeah.
sounds like a,
right.
So you'd have to make a motion for no change.
Right.
Yeah, I'd make a motion for no change.
I'll second.
okay, any additional discussion?
Got to set up the time.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Okay, so then you'll,
Yeah, so
You
we
guys
could just
will-
leave a phone number over here and, yep. Mark Ernest,
he left.
Jim Kastriba.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim Kastriba and my wife Ann. We live at 4619 Wilderness Ridge Road, which is on Lower Cullen Lake. And we heard the discussion earlier with the Klukases, so we have a better understanding of what's going on our lake. So we don't have to go through all that again, but we still have an interest in knowing why in 2023, our estimated market value went up 147,200. And then for 2026, it's going to go up another 150,200. It did go down in 2025, 24,800, which I don't understand that either. Why did it go down? It was nice to see, but then to take that fantastic jump for 2026.
Yeah. Hopefully the council can see that. If you go back to 2023, he was at a value of 610,000 and some change. It was reduced for 2024, last year's assessment for pay this year to 585. And with those sales that we referenced earlier, where we're at 91%, it is now at 736. But that's where, more totally honest, we probably shouldn't have lowered it last year. And they wouldn't be talking about this big increase as much this year. And that's what has happened was we had a couple of sales last year. We're like, maybe we should lower it a little bit. Now the problem, what you're hearing is, oh geez, it's such a big increase. Well, hindsight being 2020, we could have just left it alone and not decreased it last year, and it wouldn't be such a big gap for you this year. But we did do what we did.
Our neighbor's property is going on the market May 1st for 450,000.
Your neighbors?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that mean that ours is going to go way down then?
We could see what we have for valuation on it. Do you know what we have? Which one is it? North
neighbors?
or south of you?
So
South?
Asmus's.
It must be
The,
that
It's
little
both, it's
bitty
both pieces
cabin?
of property, I think.
what was that?
They don't have much land in there, huh? They're just right off the trail there.
Right. No,
They're right next door to you guys?
yes.
Okay, yeah, so it'd be that first two, Sandra. Yeah, those two, not all four, I don't think. Let's just pull up what those two total are. So it's listed at 450, you say?
Yes, that's what he told me that he's going to
Okay,
list it.
so so that one's at 223. What's the other one, Sandra? Yeah, that little triangle piece. At 85? 95? I gotta get glasses, I'll tell you. Well, so we're at 428. He's at 450. So let's say he gets what he asked for it. We're still gonna be under what, so it's not gonna go down. That'd be an indicator we still need to raise value.
You're still going to raise ours?
Well, I'm not saying we would raise anybody's yet. I would just, if that sale goes at 450, we're sitting at basically 428,000. That would be an indicator that our value still potentially needs to go up. But I don't want to say that's still pretty early in our sales ratio for next year. But let's say it doesn't sell at 450. maybe he only gets 415 for it. Well, then that would be an indicator that, oh, there's one that it might tell us that we need to reduce value. But it all is gonna come down to what somebody pays for the property.
Okay. Well, we love where we're at, so hopefully our taxes won't keep going up, even though the estimated market value keeps going up so much.
We call that homes with a lot of character. Sure. What was the value we had on theirs? 700 and some? You know, and if you just kind of, your neighbor's gonna get, or listed at 450, you know, and you go, geez. They, I don't even know, do they even own a lawnmower? They probably don't even have a lawn, you know?
He doesn't like to use it, though.
Can we see a photo of the house, Sandra?
We did make some improvements. We had to take 3 trees down last year.
That's 79-year-old home right there.
It's been
Wow.
recited
That
and
looks
That's
nice.
great condition for that age.
it's recited, and then that way on the right side, that's an addition that we put on 14 years ago.
Okay. I was expecting something else, but,
It's nice.
okay. And so look at the values the street means in. Well, good, bad, or ugly, at least the taxes went down this year a little bit,
Taxes.
Right.
you know? Not very many people here today could say that.
You know, earlier you mentioned about how many years in a row the county didn't raise their taxes, right?
Mhm.
It's 8 years in a row,
8 years in a row, they cut spending.
but that 9th year they went up, what, 7%?
Yeah, it was about 699, yes. But that same year, do you know what Cass County went up? Yeah, almost 9. But they didn't cut for 8 years before that. And I'm picking on Cass because they're just right next door, but
Well,
You know.
well, I have to discuss with the mayor and Joe if we can have our taxes dedicated to the streets at Grandview, city streets there. They're terrible.
sweet.
You're getting some new ones soon.
Pardon me?
You're getting some new streets soon.
Yeah, that's been said for about 5 years, I think,
I think come June.
Yeah, I
You just
think it's
voted on
soon.
it.
really. There's pothole patches on top of pothole patches.
Yeah.
Well,
Real-
good.
real
Thank
quick.
you. Okay,
They used to tell me those were built-in speed bumps. I'd say keep the speed down.
no, I think it's body shop work.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
thank
Yeah, Thank
you.
you, sir.
So we need to motion for no change.
I'll make a motion for no change.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Oh, Mr. Dewey, did you sign in?
No.
Oh, okay, sure. Oh, okay. So if you're not here to appeal, do you want, if you guys are okay, do you have anything you want to speak with the council? We have a few other recommendations for you, but just 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have anyone else?
Nobody else? So then we do have 2 items of business for the council. You want to pull up the Bernie Roberts one first. This property is
Huh.
located at 5863 Nashway. Oh, is this the one on? Yeah, this is the one on Bass Lake. So
Oh, the one we just talked about?
this would be the neighbor one to the second appeal you had today. So this is the one we were asking to reduce from 68.9 to $24,100. So they'd be basically the same price on Bass Lake. So we're asking if you would, if you feel so to reduce that. You want the parcel number, Kiki? 283605882. That would be a reduction from 68,900 to 24,100 is the recommendation.
So then all three of those parcels would be roughly the same.
The two will be, the one that the
Okay.
county owns, is like decimated
Right,
because of the
yeah.
stormwater.
That's
pond.
that's a
Right.
little yeah,
Yep.
drainage pond.
And there is talks that were, I think a neighbor wants to buy that. Have you guys heard that? They want to buy it so that it's not in the county. People can't get on the lake or something.
Yeah, I did
guess.
hear that
Yeah.
when I was door knocking.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Oh, do we need a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a
Oh.
motion to reduce to 24,100.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that carries.
The second one here, geez, you guys got a lot of notes on this one. Do you want to walk through that? Do you know what's going on here, Sandra? I'm just looking at all your scribble, but I don't want to mess it up, Brad. You got the parcel number to pull up? Oh, I should have just told you what the parcel was. Maybe I was missing it somewhere. You want to hop on her thing and pull that up?
Oh, I didn't realize that now.
Parcel
Yeah.
Kiki 28120501.
But our budget will.
What's that?
2026 Budget that we passed.
Oh, yeah,
Impact
it is a Steve Peterson. I got 28120501.
This was a property that, the property owner called into our office. Oh, I'm sorry. The property owner called into our office and spoke with Sheila about the value of the land. And when she had reviewed the property record, he was comparing his lakeshore to his neighbor's property. And it was discovered that this neighbor, for a very similar situation, was receiving more of a reduction for vegetation than he was receiving. So the change is a request to make his more consistent with his neighboring property.
So the recommendation would be to reduce the value from 471,700 and ask the board to reduce it to 464,300.
I'll make a motion to reduce it to 464,300.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
See, there's proof we actually reduced something.
What's that? What was that address?
What's that?
What was the address on that one?
Oh,
25124 Norway Lane.
Okay.
That's it. Yep, so that's all the business we have. You have a hand in the audience if you want.
Oh, yes. Do you want to come to the microphone? Yes.
I'm Julie Krause, on Round Lake. So I always like to come and say, okay, what is square footage on these lakes being assessed at, and so what's Gull right now?
Goal's 11,000.
11.
What we could
So it
do,
went up then.
Yeah,
went
Gull-
From 9 to 11.
yeah, went up $1,900.
Okay,
And one thing we can, I bet you if we're real nice to Kiki, she would make you a copy of this too, and you could probably take it with you maybe.
oh, yes, what's Round at now?
8,400?
Right there.
Round is at 7,300.
Oh,
What's? I'm sorry, so
Oh,
so
this is
Round is at
changed.
73?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I see it.
so just your land on 100 feet went 110,000 this year.
Yep, yep. No, Sheila, I've emailed and I've appreciated her feedback as well as, well, any of you in the office. You know, maybe just a suggestion to have a sheet from year to year, because your discussion about sales is, you know, you're always talking about how sales impact values. And, you know, it's been like I said, it's been an education for me over time to understand that and
Sure.
how it's impacted. And, you know, one of my questions is always on the lakes. Is it steady? Is it advancing, or
Going up, but it goes up.
it's steady? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think that's because, you know, it's not only people from the state want to move here and build, people from around the country want to come here and build.
well,
Because it
thank
is a
you for
beautiful
your,
place.
yeah, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So we don't have anything else, right?
Well, we would just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, a motion to adjourn is not debatable, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
Right, 3:05, Kiki.